Hello, I've been testing, not for very long, I might add, but as far as I'm concerned, long enough because I've made a decision about the iPad Pro Magic keyboard, is it called? I mean, I kind of lose track of what they call them, these Apple products, because it's so confusing. Apple Watch. Big mistake, by the way. I got in a big debate with a guy in an Apple store about the bad idea of calling the Apple Watch a watch. I think you should call it something else, like a communication device or Barney or something like that. Okay, I want to talk about the iPad Pro. Before, it took a while. The iPad Pro came out. I received it. I got it. It arrived here, and everything was perfect. And then there was a bit of a wait before the pencil was released, and an even longer wait before the keyboard was released. Now, that was all fine, but yesterday I received the keyboard. Ooh, it's so magnetic, it's unbelievable. And the pencil together. I'm on a metal board here, so everything sticks to it really easy. So I received the keyboard. I'll show you the keyboard. There you go. There's a keyboard. So I received the keyboard and the pencil on the same day. And I was immediately not massively impressed by the keyboard. I don't like it. I don't trust it. I don't think it's going to last. And I don't like it full stop. The pencil I do like. And I will go into that in a minute. But the reason... Let me talk about the keyboard first, right? Okay, so start at the beginning. I had the iPad Pro, and because I wanted it protecting, I went out and I bought the very expensive official iPad, is it leather, rubber cover? Which is looking after the iPad very nicely. I can quickly flip it back and make it into a prop. Like that. There's Hillary. I can do it all very, very quickly. It's all very nice. I like it very much. And then when I received the keyboard, it's exactly the same material. It's just a little bit extra. In fact, it is just the cover with the... Let me just take this off. If I can do it quite quickly. The magnetic attachments are actually pretty strong. So it's a bit of a battle. So you can see they're actually pretty similar. If not exactly the same, well, they're not exactly the same, but obviously they have to be the same size. But it's the same material, it's the same sort of design. But this one here has all the extra flappability, and to be honest with you, it's frustrating. So this has these little balls on the top, which are used to attach. Let's just see how it connects to the iPad itself. So they attach to the iPad. It always seems to get it right. I'm not quite sure how. And then you have to, this is what's hard, right? You try and get the keyboard like that. Okay, that didn't seem very hard, did it? But there you go. That's fine. I can write away. I'm a very, very happy guy. But then I have to put the whole thing down. Just get rid of this monitor. I don't want to see myself. I have to put the whole thing. Just make sure I am recording though. Yes, I am. I have to put the whole thing away, or at least I want to watch something on the iPad. I want to use the iPad, but I don't want to use the keyboard anymore. So how do I make it equal what this can do in terms of becoming a prop to prop the thing up? So what do you do? Well, it ain't easy to work it out. You kind of... And honestly, man, I'm not a stupid person. I'm pretty stupid, but I'm not all that stupid. And I honestly get so freaking annoyed with this. I don't know exactly how to go about propping the damn thing up. It is doable. I've seen it being done, and there was a picture on the cover of the box illustrating how to do it. But it is by no means obvious. There you go. No. Trust me, right? It is completely doable. I can't do it half the time. I can't remember how to do it. And I know that if I practiced and learnt it, that would be, I would work it out and I would start to do it really, really easily. So let's just give it that. Let's pretend that isn't an issue, which it is. So when it's not being a keyboard, it's been a cover. When it's been a cover, it has this extra weight here. So when you're walking along with it, it's kind of annoying because this keeps falling down. Well, it's not doing it now. I can't believe it's not doing it now. Can you believe that? It's really good. I recommend you buy it. I was having this awful problem yesterday. I was walking along, this kept flopping down like this, and it was really annoying. Or was it? No, it was when I had it round this way. That was it. I had it this way round. That's it. I had it like this, and I was walking around like this, and that kept happening. And it really bugged me that it keeps flopping down. It really bugged me, because this is just a strip of rubber here, and it's it moves quite easily, wobbles about on the back, but because there's so much weight from the keyboard, it kind of just falls down that way, and that's what was irritating me. This way is absolutely fine. When you're not wanting to use the damn thing, it's all very, very good. Although it does have this immense weight, and I'm saying immense weight. It's not immense. I mean, I wouldn't work out on this. I wouldn't work out anyway, but I wouldn't work out on this. But it is heavy enough to be very, very noticeable. You can notice that it is... it feels like... I said this in my unboxing of this. It feels the weight of a slate that is about that size. So imagine some slate from a roof tile of that size. This is how much the thing weighs. Now... For me, the keyboard isn't good enough. I have deep concerns about the material that's used in the keyboard. I think that although yes, it is splash proof, I don't trust it. The buttons seem, when you use the space bar, everything seems to pivot on a central axis. Not axis. And then there's this material that's sort of bridging the gap between the button and the board. And I don't know what it is, but it doesn't feel like it's going to stay down there. I know this is a really petty thing, but it's just me. I don't like it. I don't think it's going to last. It will certainly last its warranty. And then we're stuffed. And the thing is that you've got to remember is, if this was £5, who cares, right? But it's not. It's bloody expensive. So you want it to stand the test of time. What this does is, using this keyboard as part of the cover, and it's that joining of functions that's the problem for me. I want to use my own cover, and I think if I'm ever going to use a keyboard with this, which I may do, I'm going to buy one of the Bluetooth keyboards. This keyboard still requires you to enable the Bluetooth. It doesn't all go through those three little prongs. You have to enable the Bluetooth in it, which again, I was a little bit disappointed about. The keyboard itself, yes, it types absolutely fine. It doesn't type spectacularly well. Is the build as good as buying the independent iPad Apple keyboard, the Bluetooth keyboard? I would say probably not. I think I think I would get a lot more pleasure out of that. I could also use that keyboard in other devices. It's also cheaper than buying this keyboard, although it isn't cheaper buying that keyboard and the cover. So that's something worthwhile thinking about. So for me, my review of this is that as pretty as it is, and as nice an idea as it is, and I understand why Apple did it, it is not a good purchase. And that's why I will be taking this back tomorrow and getting my money back. I don't want it. It's not for me. I was so excited about getting it as well. Apple totally sold it to me, but I don't want it. And just incidentally, do you see on the lovely velvet, this is only after 24 hours. I've only had it 24 hours. See how the keys are kind of indenting onto the velvet? I mean, you can just brush it away at this stage, but how long... but you can't. This bit here is making a real mess of that. So this is going to wear down real quick, and I'll be interested, anyone who's watching this video a year from now, who's had this thing for a year, what state is this material in now? What's the resaleability of this keyboard? So for me, it's not worth the money. So I'm going to take it back and get rid of it. However... something that I wasn't initially impressed with, but I am now super impressed with, is this, the Apple Pencil. I didn't write, but I did a kind of review of this because I went into an Apple store. I used the pencil on the apps that the girl there sort of showed me, and I recorded on my iPhone at 240 frames what it was like to draw. And I had a massive issue with the latency that exists on this, because it's pretty much the same as latency that exists on, you know, any pointing device. It didn't seem massively different to me. But there is a difference, but it depends what app you're using. One of the big problems with the iPad Pro is that this machine only comes into its own. Let's get rid of this keyboard. This machine only comes into its own when it's using apps designed for this machine. Here's the problem I've been having with the iPad Pro experience generally, and it will involve the pencil, so bear with me. When you're writing things like this is something that I'm writing in Word, this is the nice new keyboard you get, which is totally designed for this size machine. But then if you go into something like Facebook here and do a status update, you go back to the big chunky keyboard. So this is what happens when you use apps that haven't been specifically designed for the iPad Pro. And unfortunately, there isn't that many apps out there. So when it comes to using devices like this, which is brilliant, you need to use an app which is specifically designed for it. Let me just show you an example of this pencil and how it comes into its own a little bit here. If I go to primarily the purpose of me wanting to get this and have this type of machine is I wanted something that was a bit like a clipboard size, something I could write on where I wasn't trying to squeeze. You know, I want the space on the screen. And I want to do note-taking. I wasn't too fussed about doing the art side. I do want to do art side as well because I do have my own projects. If I open something like graphics, I installed the quite expensive Procreate, which I bought. And if I go to like a new, let me just type in the size here, 2048 pixels, which is the maximum square size, 2048 by 2048. And I go in here and I can sort of choose the tool that I want to use. I'm going to use inking, and I'm going to make the pen about that size, and I'm going to make the color black. Here you go. So this is where things got interesting, because if I do this, I can see the gap. I can see the gap between the pen and the line that's been drawn. Okay, and that used to bother me, but when I put this into pencil sketching mode, and I went right down into the screen, and I started. Hold on, that's too big. Oh yeah, too far away. And when I started sketching, you know, I started sketching like a face here. I'm resting my hand on the screen, and I'm liking the reaction that I'm getting with it. It feels like I'm actually using a pencil. And the good thing about it is that as you draw, you start thinking, okay, I found the line of the drawing, and then you press harder, and it does what a pencil would do, which is make it more pronounced and darker. So in terms of sketching, this is the best stylus I've ever used, and I really like it. And yes, you can hold it to the side and you can start doing shading like that. That's pretty cool. I'll tell you something I did do, which I think it might be a bug. This is the brush. One of the brushes that I used was something called Oriental Brush, which is in the brush choice here. It's called Oriental Brush, and when I used it, it's kind of like, you know, it's fine, isn't it? You can see me drawing a line there, and then I go slightly on the side. But when I do this and I go down, I tilt it down slowly. Oh, look, it's drawing a straight line. Look at that. It does this. Now, maybe it's supposed to do that, but it's kind of like using the whole shaft of the pencil as kind of a drawing tool, which I kind of thought was a bit weird. It seemed to be a little bit out of control. But maybe it's supposed to do that. I don't know. I thought it was a bug. But it's a tiny, tiny thing because everything else works. With Procreate, this is excellent. The other thing I would flag it is useful with is, here's a very good app called Concepts that I've been using. You can see I've done some little drawings here. And again, the pencil capability is just superb. The good thing about this application is when you zoom in, your pencil drawings are actual vector files. They don't pixelate. like Procreate will pixelate your stuff, so you can do proper vector graphics with a pen, and it's really, really good. Do you like my drawings? And the other thing, the other app was the note taking I mentioned before. I do like doing my note taking, so if I just open, I use an app here called Notes Plus. Let me just go back to the library and create a new one. Let's create a new notebook. I choose the notebook I want, and hit the tick, and here I am, and I press that and it brings up my lean board, which I don't really need. I've got my shaded thing up there that disappears when I grab it. The bottom part disappears, and I can write in here, and I would say it's actually better than a pen, which is a weird thing to say, but it is too smooth. It's like there's absolutely no friction there. And I actually mentioned before, is this scratching the screen? Absolutely not. This is gliding across this glass perfectly. So I am really impressed in terms of note-taking. This is absolutely what I want. It's perfect. So I'll be keeping the pen, getting rid of the keyboard. Now, what else to tell you about the pencil? I've been calling it a pen, haven't I? Not much really. I'm not using the extensions or the extra nib. I don't know what they're for, in case this breaks perhaps, or it goes missing. I've kept in the packaging because I imagine I'll be getting rid of this quite soon, because I'm sure it'll be upgraded or something will happen. It's still charged for 24 hours. It's not been uncharged. When it isn't charged, when it's got no power, I believe it just stops working. So that's how you know. There's no Bluetooth connect. Was there Bluetooth connectivity for the pencil? I can't actually remember. Sorry. This is highly recommended by me. I think it's worth the money. I can understand why it is that much money. I like it. What would I say about it? What would I do different? It'd be quite nice to have some way of storing it, like maybe something to clip on to an inside pocket. I feel like I'm going to lose it. I like the look of it. I wish it wasn't white. I wish it was black. But I love it. I'm very, very happy with this indeed. I'm very, very happy with my Apple my Apple iPad Pro. Very happy with it. But a disappointing amount of software is being written for this. Apps could do some more apps. People aren't making apps available for this. I don't really know why, but they don't seem to be thinking it's worth doing. Apparently they would have to do a whole new monetization system in terms of selling those apps. I have absolutely no idea. So I'm going to be sticking with this. I'm going to be getting rid of my little iPad Air, which seems really thick, by the way. I might upgrade my cover to something similar to this, because this is an all-round cover protection. I don't really want to get this back scratched with this cover here, so I might take this back. I don't know if they'll let me do it. That's it. That's going to be my review. If you want, I will just finish up by doing some 240 tests with this pencil, if you really, really want to see that. Do you know what? I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I've demonstrated that. It hasn't changed. It does depend on the app that you're testing this on, but there is latency with this pencil. But it isn't, because of the other things that it does and the way it connects to this particular machine, the iPad Pro. It does perform better than any other stylus that I've known. But it isn't latency free. So, but test around, check out the best apps to use this on, because some older apps, it still has a lot more latency to it, and I'm not quite sure why that is. But that's just how it is. So, that is kind of my review. Not very technical, but I'm more a practical, how do I get on with it in everyday life. I haven't got on with the keyboard very well. I've got on with the pencil very well. I am getting on with the iPad Pro, although it's kind of frustrating not using it as a handheld. I cannot type with it because it's just too big, and I don't want to put it into portrait mode most of the time. But it's very good for watching videos on. I am going to stick with it and get more into doing handwriting. Isn't it interesting that we're getting things go full circle, and we start with pen and paper and we create, and now we're going to electronic devices and screens, but we're still back to pointing devices and using our hands and doing our creativity in that way. And it's just great fun, and I'm hopefully going to do a little children's book. This is what I'm inspired to do. It's inspiring me, and I'm really enjoying it. So I hope you've found that review useful. If you haven't, I'm very sorry. Please leave a comment down below, and goodbye.